I think something strange got on my bass. What's going on? It's Jason Heath, and I get a lot of questions about what the heck that thing is on top of my bass. Do you need one? What's it for? So in this video, we're going to talk about the pros and cons of having one of these and how it can really help your music making on the bass. This thing is called, wait for it, a bass extension. Haha, great reveal. It does what it says it does. It extends the range. So we've got an E right here. We open up this little closer like a guitar capo. E flat, D, D flat, and most end on the note C right here. But my bass goes down to a low B. Why? Kind of awesome, right? This thing is here to let me play the low notes. Now, you might be asking, and it's a reasonable question, why not just play a 5-string bass? Well, it's a fair question, and a lot of basses, especially those in Europe, do exactly that to get these low notes. But here in the United States, at least, I kind of think of 5-string basses like the manual transmission of the bass world. They're not as common and not as many people know how to play one. And because most players focus on 4-string basses with extensions here in the US, the best basses tend to be 4-string basses. Now, that's not to say that there aren't good 5-string basses. There are some amazing 5-string basses and 5-string bass makers out there, but there's a tendency that I've seen, at least, for 5-string basses to be a little bit overbuilt. There's a fear that all that extra tension will cause some problems on the bass, and so they have a reputation, not deserved necessarily, but they do have a reputation for maybe being a little bit boxy and not quite as resonant as 4-string basses can be. By the way, I did a video which I will link up to. It feels a little dated to me, but the info's all still good, about extensions and the different types of extensions. You can check that one out and learn a little bit more about the history of these extensions. So the big pro is I can play all these low notes. The big con is, come on, this is kind of awkward, right? Trying to reach up over your head and having all these closers and this thing on your scroll, and you know, bass wasn't designed to have this, really, kind of, although they have been made for a very long time, actually, and you can really go down a fascinating bass extension rabbit hole if you're that kind of bass nerd, which you're my kind of bass nerd if you are. The cool thing about these gated extensions is that oftentimes you just need one low note. So now I have a low D, and oftentimes you'll have some passages like something like that. So rather than have to keep flapping your hand back for that D, I've just got a D closed now. And there's another benefit besides just being able to play these low notes. Let's close off this E flat right here. Well, now I have an E flat string. Well, what's good about that? Well, what if I was playing some B flat blues? I can go all the way down there, and all of a sudden, keys with flats, you know, sound a lot better. All of a sudden I can play A flat and I have a sympathetic low E flat string. I can do the same thing for D flat if I want. All of a sudden, G flat sounds a lot better because we've got the sympathetic string. So there are all sorts of sonic reasons why having one of these can help too. Although the main reason is just to play these low notes. And I mean, come on. Who doesn't live for that if they're playing bass? So, do you need one? Well, if you're doing symphonic work like I do, subbing in the San Francisco Symphony and that kind of work, the answer is yes, I wouldn't get hired without this. You're not really playing the part if you don't have one of these. Beethoven, Mozart, all these composers wrote down for low notes like this. And so if you don't have this low C, you're not gonna get hired. Now, if you play jazz and other styles of music, do you need one of these? Maybe not. Although having these low notes here gives you all kinds of extra options. And if you want to do musical theater work, yeah, you're going to want to have one of these. So it is good for future-proofing yourself for some other types of work. And, I mean, it's just awesome, right? I mean, I got into bass not to play the high notes, but to flap those low notes like that. Check out more on the topic here, and we'll see you in the next one.